This thing on? I don't know. I'm going to go with it. Hey, what's up? It's me, Animal. Only on Animal Expedition Files. See you there. Hey everybody, welcome to the Animal Expedition Files. I am your host, The Animal. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Don't forget your time has changed. I think the clocks have already changed, but yeah, it gets darker later, so it's a lot weird. It's kind of like we're going to the future. I don't know. That didn't make sense. But I hope everybody's having a good afternoon, a good weekend. Tomorrow's Monday, work day. So hope everybody has a good week. Got a lot of stuff going on the show. We got Addie and Stade in the back room. We're going to have a lot of talk about a lot of amazing stuff. We're just going to have a regular conversation about, who knows, maybe religion, maybe faith, maybe, who knows. We're going to talk about it. But hope everybody is doing good. Please subscribe on animalexpeditionfiles.com, on the YouTube channel. Give us a like on our Facebook page, and also check us out on our website and check our cool merch. We're going to have some new merch coming up soon, so hope you check it out. It's going to be pretty cool. But we're going to invite our guests here in a second. We're just waiting on some people to get here. I see some people starting to come on. All right. Sweet. But, all right, yeah, let's just invite them on here, and we're gonna have a lot of fun here. And yeah, what's up, brother?
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going well. I dug the intro, dude. That was a badass intro.
Oh, thank you. I strive to I love doing editing. Editing's like one of my favorites, like filming and editing, and just doing like cool stuff like that. Especially like when you feel like you're doing stuff like you're like being abducted or something by like aliens and stuff like that. It's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of shit. But
nice.
But how's it going, brother? How are you doing? I'm happy that we could finally get you on the show and just have a really cool conversation, because there's a lot of stuff. I know there's been a lot of shit going on in our world right now. Kind of the world's on fire right now with everything going on politically and everything. But let's talk about cool stuff. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's cool to other people, but we're going to bring up some serious stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself here, a little bit, where you came from, what is your journey? Because I would really love to hear about you.
Oh, my journey. I think you need an entire show for that one, man. Let's see. So I grew up in upstate New York, in a very Catholic household, which was a weird thing because, like, my mom's a witch, but my stepdad's Catholic and his parents were Catholic, and so there's that whole thing. And I've always kind of had issue with the church, and I think I initially kind of started going after it in art. I always tried to be kind of artistic and creative about it. Put stuff out there to kind of make people think about, what it is that they actually believe in, instead of believing in something just because somebody tells you that you need to believe in it.
Yeah.
And, from there, I've always been into kind of like the occult, the paranormal, the big alien and Bigfoot nut, yeah. So, um, and then I don't know, man, like the left-hand path thing is what I'm known for, I guess now. Um, and I would say that the left-hand path, I latched onto that, I would say probably about maybe 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So I've moved around a lot. I currently
Mm,
live in Mexico. Before here, I lived in, Istanbul, Turkey. And then before that was, upstate New York. And coming here to Mexico was the third country that I had been in where I ended up homeless.
mm,
And so there is this kind of thing in my head where I'm just like, all right, so you've been to 3 different countries. You've completely different people. Nobody knows you. But in each one of these situations, you've ended up homeless. Like, what's the constant, man? Like,
yeah,
you know, and I really kind of fell into like this radical accountability, radical responsibility, you know, being, owning my own actions, owning myself, like true sovereignty of self, right? And yeah, man, that's kind of where the left-hand path stuff kicked in, and then after that, it's just kind of like building blocks on top of it.
yeah. Wow. You were talking about like religion and everything, like just growing up into it. Cause I know like when I started out Catholic. My family dragged me to Catholic school. Back in the day, like where they actually drag you to school and they can't do that no more. But uh, yeah. And before that, my dad used to go to nun school, which was weird because I remember him telling me that they used to beat children with a rod. And like
Damn.
this was like real stuff, and I'm like, holy crap! And I'm like, I don't want to be beat with a rod by a nun because that'd be like very embarrassing. Number one, getting beat up by a nun, but that'd be kind of weird. But no, it's just interesting religion how like everybody I talk to, like everybody has a different path and different faith and how they got there, and it's weird because like I know for me like religion was like it was boring until
Mhm,
I found Christianity. And then once I got into like Christianity, then it was like, oh, these lights and everything, music and these flashy things. And
mhm.
if you find God, you're gonna have great things. You're gonna do this, or you're gonna go to hell and stuff like that. Was that for you the same way, like growing up too in religion, like being kind of forced into it in that kind of way?
Well, so for me growing up, the thing is like, I mean, and I don't say this to be like, I'm never a sympathy chaser, right? So I'm not looking
Yeah.
for sympathy or anything like that. Shit happens. Everybody goes through shit. But, so me growing up, I used to always get my ass beat, like it was just like a constant. And I kind of had an understanding even then that it was control through fear.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my household was controlled through fear, like, you do what you're supposed to do, not because you're supposed to do it, but because you're afraid of the consequences that if you don't. And so, when I would look at my family's faith, I saw very much the same thing. So when I was 14, I went down the rabbit hole and I read the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Torah, the Quran, you know? Shit, I mean, I remember I was put on a watch list, in
Oh,
high school,
oh,
um, because they went through my backpack because somebody complained about the books I was reading. And so when you went into my backpack, you saw there was a copy of the Quran, there was the Satanic Bible, there was a book I was reading called The Hidden Hitler, and then Mein Kampf. Um, all in my backpack, so they're just kinda like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "I'm just reading." Like, I
yeah,
mean, like, I'm not absorbing these ideologies, I'm just curious, about, that level of insanity in humanity,
yeah,
like, how people get to that point.
yeah,
But I read all of these things, and there is one common thread through everything that, I read, and it was control through fear. It was
mm,
creating a fear that could not be satiated or, calmed,
Yeah.
right? It's just this constant nagging thing in the back of your head that, there's as long as you are afraid, you're controllable, you're malleable, you're very easily manipulated. And even in, today's modern society, it's no different. Like everything we do and we don't do is on the premise of fear, whether we realize it or not. Right. You show up at your job, you're 9 to 5 because you want to pay the rent, because you want to buy food, because you want the merch, because you want the Clearasil, you want the Coke, you want whatever the hell it is that you want. You fall in line and do what you're told to do because you're afraid of not having what everyone else has.
Yeah.
you know it's like growing up as a kid, like it's instilled as you as a child, right? Like that first thing that hits you as a kid, it's like fashion, right? Like when I grew up, like, I mean, you're old enough, so you probably remember this. Jankos, right? So
Yeah.
Jankos, they sold those like,
I was just talking to my wife about those. Oh my gosh.
they used to sell them at like J.C. Penney for like $80 a pair, right? And back then, $80 for a pair of jeans was like, fucking crazy, right?
It was crazy.
Right? Most of us are buying shit from Kmart.
Uh,
And but there's the thing, right? It's like you're afraid to show up at school without the Jankos because all your friends are wearing the Jankos, but you got to show up wearing Lee. Like, you're not even wearing Levi's, like you're just wearing Lee, right?
yeah.
Or the fucking Wranglers or whatever. And that's just how society functions, and it's instilled into you as a kid. It's like
Yeah.
you are afraid of not having. I mean, it's the whole reason we buy these fucking things, man. Like,
Yep.
like, right? Why do I have an iPhone 17 Pro Max? Because I actually need it, or because, marketing said I need it?
Yeah.
Who knows? And so
Totally.
everything in society comes from that, and religion is the source material.
Yeah. It's very sad that we have to live in that fear because like I know was always living in that fear. Just like you said with the iPhone, it's like, oh, buy this model. If not, then you're like out of, the whatever it is. It's,
Hmm.
and it's funny you say Jankos because like I'll never forget having I actually had a pair of Jankos one time and my dad was old school and he threw the Jankos on top of the balcony where I couldn't get it. It was like son of a gun. I was like planning on wearing them to school and all that stuff, but like I never, he never got them for me after that. I was like, well, that's a waste
Mm.
of money.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm 39 and I own 5 pairs of Jankos, and I
Yeah.
ended up dropping like $250 per pair. So,
Wow, they still sell them too. Apparently, they're coming making a comeback.
yep, they are hardcore too. Like
Dang.
they're
Yeah,
yeah. So,
in '90s and '80s clothes is coming back and all that stuff, and um, freaking record players are coming back and all that stuff. So,
mhm.
man, I
Yeah,
feel
man.
like going in the past. I like it. It's really cool stuff because it's fun and it's like our generation gets to experience what we got to experience.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I mean, I'm just glad that, like, I'm ahead of the curve, right? Because I never gave up
Mm,
on baggy clothes, dude. I loved the big wide baggy, the kickwear, the Jankos,
yeah.
you know,
Mm,
so it's always been my shtick. Or like if you look at I don't know, Trip, right? I got Trip, like, Trip pants as well, like the ones with
oh,
the D rings and the bondage straps and shit.
uh,
So I've always been that weirdo. I like to just dress in stuff that I think is different. So
makes me think of like going to concerts and stuff back in the day, and that's what just people wore. Going to concerts.
hmm. Yeah,
It
man.
dang, yeah, I love concerts. I just saw Ghost not too long ago. I was like, probably the last concert I'll go to in a while because it's so damn expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So fun.
I mean, I'm lucky living in Mexico though. Like I know most of the promoters down here, so like I
Yeah,
usually don't have to pay for concerts. Like
yeah, that's awesome.
like I just have to hit them up and be like, "Hey, I'd like to be there." So,
Ian. Well, let me ask you this question because I know a lot of people get butthurt about this question, and
mm,
what's your thoughts about? God and the devil, because I know a lot of people, like, after like leaving this whole Christianity, like after studying, because I went to Bible college and all this and got to study all this stuff
Mhm.
going on in the Bible. And after, the funny part is I learned more now than I did in college, because I'm starting to see more that God is more of the devil in this case in the book than the devil really is.
I mean, I guess it kinda depends on your perspective. I mean, no pun intended, but to play devil's advocate, right? I mean, you're talking about, a being that if you read the Bible itself openly talks about multiple gods, right? It like, especially if you start from the Old Testament going into the New Testament, like, it openly talks about multiple gods. It's openly polytheistic. Yahweh is just, one of, I think, 3 or 4 primary spirits that are looked at, like from the Canaanites, right? So you got Baal, El, Yahweh, and I think there's one other one I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And essentially, it was kind of like a battleground for which one was going to have supremacy, and that just ended up being Yahweh. But Yahweh, from that point, ended up taking on certain roles of like El and Baal and like all these things. It's just kind of like merging all these different gods into one. Now, if you go through the Bible, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, there's so many, you know, points where God, you know, floods the earth and kills everybody.
Mm.
God tells,
Job.
I think it's Job, yeah, to, kill his kid. And all of this stuff. And, the serpent, the devil, is always there just saying, hey, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like you're the voice of reason, essentially.
Why you?
Um,
Yeah, it's pretty much.
yeah. So I think the issue is for somebody to get upset with that, you'd have to believe in God and the devil in order to be upset with that question, with that inquiry. I don't, right? I don't believe in God or the devil in the sense of, these dualistic forces battling back and forth for, mortal supremacy. Um, the way that I view things, to be completely honest, I I guess some people would mislabel me an atheist, which is completely untrue because I'm very theistic.
Yeah.
I do believe that the things that I work with, the entities that I work with, or that I call upon, or that I revere, do actually exist. That these are energetic intelligences. But I don't believe that there is some afterlife where we all go and sing kumbaya after the fact, right? People's obsession with the idea of the human soul and the soul being your personality, I think, is misguided. Um, your personality, who you are as a person, is determined by nature and nurture. It's a accumulation of events that have happened and how your brain decided to, deal with the memory of those things, right? Those are the things that define who you are as a person. Scientifically speaking, we know that the brain produces electricity, which is why we're able to do everything that we do. But for the most part, we don't have a definitive answer as to how or why the body is able to produce the level of electricity that it does.
Yeah.
So, me filling in the blanks, like, I would say that that is the soul. The soul is a battery, right? We know that scientifically energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just exists and changes form. So that being true, the way that I look at it is that when you die, yes, your soul goes back to the source, that energy that connects everything together that, most hippies like to talk about. But it's not as fantastical as most people would portray it as being this, wonderful, beautiful afterlife where you get to spend time with your loved ones once they're passed away, and your dog when you were 6 is there. It's just going back to that current, that's it. And then, maybe an aspect or a part of that can be reincarnated, but the energy in that exact form as it is now, what is powering you, doesn't come
Yeah.
back. And the reason I think that that's important in what I believe is because I feel that too many people with religion and spirituality use it as an excuse to focus on what is going to happen after you're dead.
Yeah.
And when you spend so much time of your life focusing so much on what happens after you die, are you really enjoying every second that you have here breathing?
Mm.
Because it's that idea that tomorrow's that's gone, right? Every opportunity that you had yesterday, I mean, sorry, not tomorrow, yesterday, every opportunity you had yesterday, it's gone. Tomorrow's not a promise. You're not guaranteed to have it. The only thing that you've got is, this second that you're breathing in right now. And so many of us miss so many opportunities, whether that's opportunities with family, that's opportunities with business, whatever it is, simply to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like it can wait until tomorrow. And I think that too many people do that, and I think that religion pushes that. I think this idea of trying to live your life a Christ-like life, for, the promise of heaven and the pearly gates is, again, it's a system of control. It's fear that if I don't do this and I don't live my life this way and, I don't make these specific decisions based on how this book tells me that I need to make these decisions, then I'm going to be denied access to this thing. And then so therefore you inherently live every second of your natural life in fear of what is or is not going to happen after you're not here.
Mm.
And it's just like, why? Why do that? Why waste so much time, worrying about something that you have 0 fucking control over?
Mm.
Excuse my French, but it's just it's it doesn't make any sense to me. And
Yeah.
that was also like another aspect of that, the whole biblical things. Like I said, like when I was 14, man, like I really went into it. Um, and it's
Wow.
just none of it made sense. And here at 39, almost 40, I'll be 40 this year. It still doesn't make any goddamn sense,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it does it, especially like as a paranormal investigator, like when we're like looking for the dead, paranormal beings, and they have what do they strive for? Energy. What you were talking about, what we have,
Mhm.
and to be able to like move an object or do something, or to be able to just walk around, and that's what we live on. Like you said, energy, and it's really amazing how that works and stuff like that. And it doesn't talk about that a lot in the Bible, that our spirits could live here, or whatever they are, or whatever kind of form they are, but they're there.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And as far as ghosts and stuff like that's concerned as well, it's like I do believe that, people that, live, on the extreme end of their energy signature, whether that's very violently or very, calmly or whatever. Most of the time, when we talk about spirits, we're talking about violent spirits, right? Those are the ones that present themselves, right?
Yeah.
Violent or aggressive in one way or another, whether intentionally trying to hurt people or not. Like we usually, when we talk about paranormal activity, when we talk about ghosts, we're talking about aggressive spirits, right? We're not talking about fucking Casper, right? You know,
Yeah.
so the way that I look at that is if everything is energy, and we know that energy can imprint, we know that energy can leave residue, it can leave part of itself behind, that when the energy moves on, when the person dies and that soul moves on, right? We're talking about a different type of energy that leaves a residue, an active residue on this plane, right? Because everything you do is energetic, right? Like
Mhm.
every movement you make, every blink, every swallow, every cough, everything is some type of energy being expelled from the body.
Yeah.
So if everything you do is energetic on that frame, then it serves to logic to say that if there is a very violent death, if there is a lot of emotional energy that is left behind because of a death, then that would leave residue that would be doomed to kind of just repeat itself. And when we talk about ghosts, that's another thing we talk about, right? Is that they constantly repeat the same actions over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So then that serves to logic then that maybe these things aren't necessarily intelligent in the way that we perceive intelligence,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
there's this residue that's left over and it's just kind of like an echo,
Hmm.
right? That just kind of keeps rebuilding itself every time it repeats the action, right? Which is where kind of like the releasing of that energy is kind of important because you're able to stop that signature from repeating its action and then revamping its own energy to repeat again, right? So that's how I would explain ghosts because like people do ask kind of like, well, if you believe in ghosts, then how can you not believe that the soul is, the embodiment of yourself?
Yeah.
And that's why. That's how I explain it.
Wow. What's your thoughts about, since we're in the whole spirit of ghosts and stuff? What's your thoughts about negative energy and demons?
So I think that the term demon gets way overly used
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. It gets overly used in the left-hand path when we're talking about the 72 goetic demons, of the Ars Goetia. When we talk about paranormal activity, most people, when they say demon, that's what they have in mind. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking of like some one of the 72 goetic demons. And it's like there are so many more energies beyond that. And if to understand demon, first and foremost, you have to understand kind of like the terminology, what terminology you're actually using, right? And so demon comes from the ancient Greek daemon, right? Which is just means a guiding spirit. It's just a guide,
Yeah.
right? Angels would be messengers, demons would be guides. And that's where those words come from. So a demon or daemon isn't inherently good or bad or evil or negative, but there are ones that do like to fuck with us, right? Like, why? Because they can, right? It's
Yeah.
like, why, McDonald's is bad for you. Why do you go to McDonald's and eat there anyway? Because you fucking can, right? That's why you do it. And it's the same thing, right? Like sometimes, it's people just do like these things do this because they can do it. Like if you want an even more extreme example, I mean, why did serial killers do what they do? Because they can until they're stopped, right? Like there's no logic there, right? There's nothing that is concretely like logical to a normal individual of why someone would believe that these actions are okay and why someone has the compulsion to do this. It's because they can,
Yeah.
right? Until they're stopped and then they can't. So why would a demonic entity or any entity want to fuck with humanity? Because it can.
Yep.
There's no greater thing behind it. Like, unfortunately, I think the most difficult thing in my spiritual journey for me was understanding that there isn't a bigger picture
Mm.
to everything that happens, and I think that that is the one thing that we are constantly so stuck on, right? Like when we talk about, demonic activity, we talk about the Bible, we talk about religion, we talk about spirituality, is we want there to be some type of Hollywood scenario,
Mm.
that points that, oh, this big thing is going to happen. Like, I mean, Christians are fucking obsessed with it. I mean, like,
Yep.
the apocalypse for fuck's sake. You can't get much bigger than that, right? Um,
Yeah.
so as human beings, we're just obsessed with this idea of, this big picture thing, that only we're able to see and somehow we're chosen because we can fucking say, don't flatter yourself. There isn't a big picture thing happening,
No.
right? Like people come, people go, sometimes they go through some shit that's spiritual or not spiritual. Sometimes, the demonic or even, the angelic want to fuck with us and they come in and want to scare the shit out of us and they make for good Hollywood movies.
Yep.
But there is no black hole of the earth that is going to open where all of the demons of hell are going to spout out of it and, start torturing people on this earthly plane. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for those that make their entire living off of this shit, but
Mm-hmm.
it's theater at
Yep.
the end of the day. It's the same thing with politics, everything like that. Like, I mean, one of the I mean, I'm not gonna get too far into the political thing, but the political stuff is the same shit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
I've gone through so many presidencies so far, right?
Mhm.
That everyone has talked shit about every single president for different reasons, saying that, like, every single one wanted to create, like, the fucking Amero and, like, the American Union and,
Yep.
that George Bush was gonna fucking enact martial law because of the war in Iraq and, like, like, he was never gonna leave office, and now they're saying the same thing about this dipshit that's in office now, and it's like, it it it's not gonna happen,
Nope.
folks.
Like
Like, it's
like they want to enact Armageddon. Have you heard that?
Uh-huh.
They want
Yeah.
to enact Armageddon so Jesus could come. And when I heard that shit, I was like, I'm like, do you like let's just say it was all real. Have they even read the Bible?
Most of them haven't.
You can't enact like the second coming of Christ. It just happens.
Exactly.
When you don't even know it's supposed to happen. Supposedly, that's what the Bible says. But
Mhm.
in other words, it just cracks me up because they believe in this stuff, and it's almost like kind of like an occult kind of way, where
Mhm.
they're drinking this juice and they're believing this stuff, but it's all just like you said, Thea. It's all like Hollywood stuff. They're making it
Mhm.
this whole Hollywood propaganda where people are gonna just believe it, and that's why so many people argue. So many like Republicans, Democrats, and all this, and they fight and fight and fight, like kind of like rabid dogs. And
Mhm.
by the end of the day, you're like, what the hell is going on?
It's just so much energy wasted, man. I mean, it's like and the thing is like the United States isn't innocent of anything. I mean, if you look at like the Cold War, and the Cuba Missile Crisis and all of that stuff and that scare, that kind of started, the whole process, right?
Yeah.
Of people being terrified, of, like, these government regimes, like, having this, like, secret plan to do this and do that, and, you can then, like, back in the '70s and '80s, you had, like,
Mhm.
James Bond that, furthered that type of shit, and there's
Yeah.
always these secret clandestine missions that nobody knows about, and it's like, don't you get exhausted, like, falling for this shit? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like, just, generally, I'm looking at people, I'm just like, "Aren't you tired of, like, putting so much energy into this shit?" It's like, "Just live your life, man." Like,
Like
you don't
every
get a
day I go
do-over.
Yeah, like every day I go to the store and I'm like, because I remember growing up, like we were kids, like kids were kids. We just lived life. And as an
Mhm,
adult, I feel like I want to be a kid again because everywhere I go, I was just at the grocery store not too long ago. People just bickering and arguing over the most stupidest shit I have ever heard of. I'm like, dude,
mhm.
like life is so short. Like enjoy it. Enjoy. I know like things suck right now because like freaking eggs are up the yin yang and all that crap, but enjoy freaking life because you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Someone could drop a fucking like whatever on us and we'll all be gone. We don't know. We don't know what tomorrow brings, and that's why just live your life. Just be happy.
Well, I mean, there's like when it comes to inflation and shit, I mean, the thing is it's no big mystery, man. It's
No.
like the United States is how many trillions of dollars into debt, like, globally? We gotta try to, like, make that up somehow, right? And the more money that, um, what is it? The mint produces, right? The more inflation there is, right? So,
Yeah.
the more money in circulation, right, the more things cost.
Hmm.
Right? It's the only system that functions where the more money more physical money there is, right?
Yeah.
The more money we actually owe.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not inherently capitalism, it's just any system altogether, right?
Mhm.
Like there is no cure for it,
No.
unless we go back to bartering, which we'd probably just end up killing each other anyway over
Yeah.
that. So it's just I just think it's a little ridiculous the way that we
Yeah.
dive so headfirst into all of this stuff. It's not just, it's not just, the political stuff, it's the religious stuff, it's the
Yeah.
spiritual stuff. It's important to have, your beliefs. It's important to hold tightly onto what it is that you believe in, but stop trying to push it onto other people.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, the major thing will always be, like, my major point in most things. It's like,
Mhm.
when I talk about, my politics, when people do ask about it, right? Like, the only person that matters to me whether or not they believe in the same thing that I believe in is my wife.
Yeah.
Outside of that, dude, I don't care what you believe in politically.
Hmm.
And, if somebody is so focused on what I believe in, whether that's religiously, spiritually, politically, whatever, it's like, do you have a personality?
Yeah.
Like can you go beyond, like, the ideologue that you've integrated into being your personality? Because that's where the problem comes in. The problem comes in when anyone takes an ideology of any kind and turns that into their personality, right? So
Yeah.
you see it in Christianity, the Christians, right? They are Christians. They are the embodiment of the fucking Bible, which is why they're such irritating pains in the asses because, they keep talking about people going to hell and, you know, every time you do a podcast like this, there's 50 of them in the fucking comments section
Yeah.
talking about how goddamn wrong you are, you
Yeah.
know,
Been there.
because it's their personality. Satanists, LaVeyan Satanists, like the last bastion of people that I would ever think that would ever fall into this shit have fallen into it.
Mm,
Like the hardcore LaVeyan Satanists will tell you that you are not a Satanist if you are theistic, because theistic Satanism doesn't exist. And it's like, but it does.
yep.
Like, I'm sorry, but it does. So most LaVeyan Satanists, at least a good portion of them, have essentially turned into Catholics that worship the devil.
Hmm.
Um, it's the same thing. And you get that when you go into politics, right? Like you get the same thing. Like when you make your entire identity whoever the fuck it is that you voted for, the only thing you're showing is how little personality you actually have.
Yeah.
Again, I told you, dude, like I don't have a filter. I am so sorry.
No, no, dude. I don't care, dude. I love this. I love this. It's funny that you talk about this because, like, after I was going through like hell after I left my Christianity. I mean, like, I had Christians left and right bashing me, like, "Oh, you're going to hell," this and that, and like
Mhm.
tore me to pieces. Like, these were people I was like so close that they were supposed to be brothers, and
Mhm.
block them. I like literally get them away from my life because like these were people I thought were like a dad or an uncle to me and stuff like that. We're that close, and they're like, "You're stupid," you don't know what you're doing. And I was like, and that hurt. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then like the person I interviewed, Richard, that I told you, Richard Lale, and he's a Satanist, but like he like welcomed me with open arms and just tell like, dude, you're gonna be okay. Like,
Mhm.
you don't need anything but love. Like that's all you need, And it was like the most calmest thing ever. And someone that was, almost Christ like, wasn't Christ, but like was kind of like what Christ like should be. And
Uh-huh.
and he's like, dude, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine, and life will get better. Yes, it will be hard for a little bit, but it will get better. And that's all I needed to hear. And then eventually I was like, dude, I'm like, when people were like saying you're going to hell, I'm like, fuck off. It's like just tell those people like, I don't give a fuck what you say about me. I'm just gonna live who I am because like you're not gonna tell me make me believe that you're a Christian and you're gonna say I'm gonna go to hell when Jesus would have never said that.
Mhm.
Jesus would never say you're going to hell if you don't believe who I am. He would have never,
Mhm.
and that's what
Yeah.
made me lose that fire for Christianity because of people like that pushed me away from that.
Well, I mean, the thing is as human beings, as a species,
Yeah.
we are intrinsically tribalistic.
Yeah. Sorry.
We we require, the like the community that exists inside of a tribe.
Yeah.
And if you go back, I mean, go all the way back to like go to Native Americans, go to the Aztec, go to the Mayans, go to, choose any culture that was, you know, at the peak of, tribal behavior, just pick your poison.
Mhm.
And it was the same thing that happens now. It's, one tribal tribe comes in, another one shows up, they fight, whichever one wins. They take the land, they take the fruits, stuff like that, and, integrate the other people into the new tribe. And it's what is happening now, right? It's just on a loudspeaker is what's happening now. right? That's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. It's human nature. Everything that you are seeing happening on your television screen about borders and about this group and that group and the next group, or this country and this culture, it is the same thing that has been happening with human beings for thousands of years since the dawn of our existence, right? We learned very early on that our survival, we survived longer, we survived better when we were in groups instead of being alone.
Hmm.
We understood that. There is a reason why most of the time, tribalistically speaking, we very quickly gravitate towards what we would consider an alpha, regardless of, like, I'm not going to get into the fucking gender politics of it, but
Yeah.
usually the alpha is always represented by the strongest of the group. And so usually the tribe will gravitate towards whoever they view as being the strongest of that group to show direction, very much the same way the wolves move. Um, to a certain degree, right? We're mammals and we're pack-like creatures, but we understood very early on that our survival was increased, the likelihood of our survival increased when we functioned in groups. And we usually kept those groups small, right? We kept them, we're talking maybe anywhere from 40 to 100 people, right? Usually no more than that, right? Anything larger than that, you start to see the degradation of society. You start to see things fall apart, right? Which is why when you think about it, if you think of the United States as a giant tribe, let's just look at America, right? Because we're both Americans, so it just kind of makes it a little easier, right? So America's a giant tribe, but we're talking about a tribe of 300 million people, right?
Hmm.
Or 700 million or some stupid, ridiculous number. Our brains were never designed to process access to that many fucking people at one time,
Hmm.
right? S- So what do we do? If you're in high school, you have a clique. What's a clique? A clique is a small tribe,
Hmm.
right? You're a theater kid, you're a geek, you're, a goth, you're a jock, you're in math club, whatever the fuck it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's your tribe. That's where you identify. That's where you feel strong because it grabs whatever aspect of your personality that has strength and it amplifies it, which is why we wanted to be in tribes to begin with, because it
Hmm.
amplifies our strengths, not our weaknesses. It makes it easier for us to ignore our weaknesses when we're in a functional tribe,
Yeah.
right? And so, what we're doing now as adults, right? Our family. Usually, our family, like when we become an adult, we get married, we have kids, you've got your parents, their parents, that becomes kind of like an extended tribe, a functional tribe, which is why you'll notice that once you do have a family, friendships usually start to fall away, right? The people that you used to consider your tribe are no longer your tribe,
Hmm.
right? In the same way that they were, because now you have something that takes more precedent, right? That takes more responsibility and more of your focus, that family, right? And so in society, we always function inside of tribes, whether we want to or not, right? And when you look at industry, right, we're both podcasters. Inside of that, right, we are part of the same tribe, right? We are podcasters. Regardless of audience size, it doesn't matter. We both produce content in the form of a podcast. That puts us in a tribe in and of its own, right?
Yeah.
And it's religion, it's the same thing. Christians, Catholics, I mean, fuck, I mean, the Baptists hate the Mormons and the Mormons fucking hate everybody else, right? And those are all tribes, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're looking at, what's happening in front of our eyes, and for some reason nobody wants to see it, is the natural functioning of the human mind blown up on a microphone, and it's confusing the shit out of our brains. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know where to land because there are so many subsections of these tribes, and there's a tribe for this, and there's a tribe for that, and there's a tribe for this, and there's a tribe for that. And we get so scattered, we start to fall apart
Hmm.
because we want to be in it. We want to be part of the tribe. We want to be accepted,
Yeah.
right? And the one thing I've learned is I really don't care if everyone fucking hates me. Um, like, so I am, you know, and I've by my own admission, I am a left-hand practitioner, right? Of, black magic, so to speak. and I'm also a conservative. And then everybody fucking hates me, right? The conservatives hate me because I don't believe in God
Yeah.
and I worship demons and I practice black magic. And the people that practice black magic hate me because, well, how can you be a conservative and practice magic? It's an oxymoron. It's like, no, it's not. It's like, and then you fall into this trap of everybody because like, oh, witchcraft is inherently political. And it's like, y'all need to learn the definition of the word inherently.
Mm,
Right? It's something that irritates the fuck out of me because the thing is people are sitting there, they throw inherently on everything. And it's like, you do realize for something to be inherently political, it requires that the functional basis, the functional core of why this thing was created
yeah.
was politics. So by you saying that witchcraft is inherently political, you are saying, by your own admission, that the functional core of witchcraft is not balance with nature. It's
Mhm.
not, manipulation of energies around you. It's not control of the personal self. It's none of those things. You are saying that the core value of witchcraft is politics. And I think that that is disgustingly inaccurate
Yeah.
and takes away from the importance of what witchcraft is for so many of us and why we're in it to begin with.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a really long rant.
No, no, it was kind of like my rant earlier. There's nothing wrong with rants. Rants are awesome. Speaking about witchcraft, like that's the one thing. Like it's funny. Like before I was a Christian and all that, I studied witchcraft a little bit there, for a little bit. Then I went into Christianity and all that stuff, and now I'm kind of like getting back into it a little bit, like wanting to like study it and all that stuff. And it's very interesting. It's very beautiful in a way because like I watch these other people that do it, and it's people think it's like so evil and all this stuff. I'm like, it's not. It's a really relaxing thing to watch and to like really learn and read about. It's really interesting.
It is like witchcraft. I mean, one of the things that I've realized that like I'm starting to kind of get back in touch with, as far as my own craft is concerned, is nature.
Yeah.
I feel that nature is extremely important aspect of witchcraft or any craft that is being used, in that way because there's a balance that we strike with nature.
Yeah.
Um, when we go into is one of the reasons I'm a dedicant of Baphomet. And that's a whole other conversation because most people be like, "Oh, it's just a symbol," and it's like, I mean, I wrote a book on it. You should read it. Um, so it's one of those things that we also require, I believe, to strike a balance with the natural forces that exist around us as human beings.
Hmm.
We have seen in multiple situations, any human being that raises an animal from infancy, any animal that you would think would be a natural predator to a human being can become a companion of a human being when raised in the right circumstances. And that just to me constantly and perpetually shows, the inherent balance that exists or should exist rather with humans and nature. And I think that when I take on the left-hand path as a philosophy and I look at it within my craft and I say that I am practicing radical accountability, I am practicing radical responsibility for myself. I am able to sit and I'm able to look at what it is that I do day to day. And does this balance out? It, as I am responsible and the only one responsible for my own actions, does this balance out to what I'm supposed to be doing to maintain the balance with the energy around me? And I think that that's what witchcraft is,
Yeah.
right? It's Hollywood has turned it into something that it isn't, which is like, oh, cast a spell and get some money. And it's like,
Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't, does it? And it's
Ish.
one of those, right? Same here. It's one of those things. It's funny though. It's like most of the people that want like magical services, they want one of two things. They want money or they want love.
Yeah.
And I think that that says something about society. Like when you sit and you look at like a practitioner's like private clients, right? And you see that the vast majority of the people that are your clients are specifically looking for either love or money. I don't know. To me, that just screams something about modern society and what's missing in modern society.
Yeah,
You know,
agree.
so I don't know.
Yeah, it's like as much as like we would love and money, but it's not about that. That's I think that's what's the love of it because if you remember like back in the day of like Salem and stuff, like women would freaking get burned at the stake, or man would get burned at the stake for like being saying that they're a witch or something, or being blamed for a witch or whatever, and it's just like even if they weren't a witch, they would still get burned because they thought they did.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's still that way today, not metaphor, like not like back then where they're gonna burn you at the stake, but like people ridicule people like, oh, because they find out you're a witch, you do all these things, you cast spells on people, you do this, you do that,
Hmm.
and it's not a bad. I mean, there is things out there that probably could cast like bad things on things. Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong. In your experience, have you ever dealt with that?
Like people, like you're talking about, kind of like people, like what baneful magic is what you're talking about
Try to cast some kind of bad negative spell on somebody, or like did something negative just because they hated somebody.
all the time, all the time. I mean, the thing is like so. In order to understand that, it's important to kind of again, kind of go back to the whole human nature thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at how we define good and bad, right? So I talk to a lot, like, so I have this thing called Infernal Compass, which is it's like life coaching, but it's like Jungian left hand path based life coaching, right?
Mhm.
And it's a 6 pillar system, and inside of that system, I talk about consequences. Um, and the only thing that exists in life are consequences. Now, because of the attachment that we have to that word, when we think of consequences, we immediately think of something negative.
Yeah.
Consequences are honestly neither good or bad. It's just our perspective on whether or not does this benefit us or does this hurt us. If it hurts us, it's a negative consequence. If it's positive and it helps us, then it's a positive consequence. So the human mind determines what is good and what is bad, because what's bad for you might be good for somebody else. And I mean, that's a shitty thing to say, but it's the reality of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, so with that being said, when we talk about baneful magic, we talk about baneful magic in the sense of understanding that what we're doing is with the intention to cause harm to someone else, right? Does that make the magic itself good or bad? No, not really, because if you think about it, it's the same thing as a loaded weapon.
Hmm.
The gun in and of itself, it's not good or bad. It's a tool,
Yeah.
right? It's what the person wielding that tool decides to do with it that makes the consequences of that tool to be good or bad to the people at the business end of it. And that's the same thing when you look at magic. Magic is a tool, much like a gun. It's not good or bad, but whatever your intention is with it is what determines it being good or bad because of what is happening to the people that are receiving it,
Hmm.
right? So does that make the magic evil? No, not at all. Just like the gun's not evil, the gun doesn't have a fucking personality. It's a hunk of metal,
Yeah.
you know? And magic is just, energy. It's energy moving to do a thing. Your intention is what determines whether it is baneful or malevolent. Is malevolent or benevolent.
Wow. That's good. Oh wow. It's a good take on that because it's very interesting because I know like a lot of people think it's bad, but it's just like you said, it's just what you put it in there, you know?
Hmm. It's just magic. The energy is already there,
Hmm.
right? Energy is all around us, right? an energy manipulation exercise that I used to do a lot, right? It's very Reiki based, right? But if you have someone that's close to you and you have them put their hand out, you put your hand below it and your hand one hand above it. You maintain their hand in the middle, right? You can, with enough focus, change where the warmth is.
Hmm.
You can move the energy, focusing enough to where it feels warmer, the top of the hand or the bottom of the hand,
Yeah.
right? And that's nothing mystical. It's, if anything, that's science. It's not mysticism, right?
No.
That's not esoteric, right? That's scientific, right? You're taking your body is made of molecules. Everything is made of molecules. What makes something solid or not solid is how far apart those molecules are.
Hmm.
That understanding that you can, to a certain degree, to a realistic degree, control how the molecules move around you,
Hmm.
right? If you think about it, like if you're cold and you rub your arms, right, you're not actually making full physical contact with your skin. There's still a very slight space between the two surfaces of your own skin. And so as you move your hands up and down, you think that you're rubbing your arms, but you're not. You're rubbing the air that exists between your hands and your arms, and you're heating that air up to warm your body. It's the same thing, just with a little bit more distance, and you're able to focus what those air molecules are doing that are relatively close to your own body.
Yeah.
What people don't talk about is what the other person's mindset is regarding it.
Hmm.
Right? So if the person you're doing this with is focused on the top part of their hand being warm and you're focused on the bottom part of their hand being warm, you cancel each other out and nothing happens. But if you focus back and forth, you can figure out where they want their hand to be warm by where you feel the warmth happening, right? So if you have them, you tell them, think about warming your hand in one location, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on warming the bottom of your hand. And it actually feels cold. You're like, okay. And I'm going to focus on warming the top part of your hand. And then you start to feel it warm up. Why? Because now the molecules from both people are working in tandem to cause the air molecules between the two physical parts to do something that it wouldn't naturally or normally do.
Yeah.
And that's not mysticism. But what it does show us, what it does prove to us, that we are able to manipulate the energy that exists around us. The psychodrama that happens inside of a ritual puts the mindset in a heightened point of opening,
Hmm.
right, to things that are beyond what is in front of us. Me as somebody with ADHD, severe ADHD, like I take full advantage of everything that I have available to me on my altar. So I am focusing on the flames from the candles. I'm smelling the incense. I'm listening to music. I have statues. I make sure that the ambiance that is in, my ritual space is to the extreme. And that is for that specific purpose of elevating the mind to a plane that isn't here, that isn't grounded. And once you're able to kind of allow yourself to fall into that psychodrama, because it is, right?
Hmm.
It is very psychological, right? You are able to push energy out and manipulate energy that happens around you, which is why, like, when you do ritual for something that is big, you don't do just one ritual. You do consistent rituals, right? You do it 2, 3, 4 times a week, right?
Hmm.
Like for 30 days, and then you give it a break and you let the energy do what it's out there to do. It's like causing ripples in a pool, right? Right? You push once, you get a little bit of a ripple. But
Yeah.
if you really want to cause, like, some waves, you got to kind of keep pushing it. And it's the same thing. It's the same concept. The problem happens is when we fall into the game of what Hollywood wants you to think something is. And when you want manifestation to happen the way it happens in Hollywood, you are going to be sadly disappointed for the rest of your life.
Agree. If you definitely believe in Hollywood stuff, you're gonna be stuck in that kind of trap, pretty much what they're trying to put you into. That it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's reality that we live in. But I know we have a couple of minutes left. I do got one question I do want to ask you, and go
Okay.
back to the paranormal. And what was the most paranormal experience you've ever had in your life? Like, kind of like good or bad?
So, there's one experience that I've talked about many times that sticks out in my mind, and I will never forget it. So, I was in university, in upstate New York, and a buddy of mine, we were coming out of the city cemetery where we weren't supposed to be, right? And so we were coming out and we're running down to the main street, and there's this building that's called the OPO. That's called the old post office. It's used as a courthouse,
Yeah.
right? But it still has like an old, like turn of the century bell tower. And as we're coming out, we heard like audibly, like both of us. We're the only two people on the street. Like the streets are completely empty. It's the middle of autumn. And we just hear this loud, like groaning growl. Like it just sounded like something massive. And we didn't know where it was coming from. We thought perhaps it was coming from the bell tower, which is why I mentioned it, because it was in that general direction. And we ran, we booked it. And one of the things that stuck out for the both of us is as we were running, you could see the leaves on the ground start to blow, but you couldn't feel the air yet, right? And so
Mhm.
it was almost like you see the wind building up, and then it just hit us like a fucking wall, and it almost knocked us on our asses,
Damn.
right? And so, do I believe in the paranormal? 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Everything I've laid out today, I'm not saying that that is or isn't what things are. It is the best guess that I have with the research that I've done.
Yeah.
I would love for there to be an afterlife. I
Mm.
would love for there to be one. I just haven't seen any full on evidence of it. So I can't speak to it, in that way. But yeah, I think that that's probably like the most terrifying paranormal experience I've ever had. That just stands out in my mind in just graven detail. Like I'll never. It's over 20 years ago now, and I remember it like it happened yesterday.
That's crazy. That's awesome. That's really cool stuff, man. Well, thank you so much, man, Adius. This was a really amazing talk, and I want to have you on again to have a just more conversation about this, because it just intrigues me, especially just what you do in life and out of life. It's just really cool. So thank you so much, man, for being on my show on Animal Expedition Files. And we are definitely going to be talking more and having you on. I hope everybody else had a great time like we did. And we will be back pretty soon. But I hope everybody enjoyed their day. Everybody have a good week, a good work week, and I hope nobody has too many fights out there. Stay good, everybody, and we will talk in the green room once the show ends, and talk a little bit, and then we'll walk our daily day today. Mm, yeah, live our life. So,
All right, cool.
is there anything you want to say before we hit out to people before we leave?
Just go check out my book, The Book of Baphomet Conversations with the Horned One. You can get it on Amazon right now. It's $10. So yeah, read the book.
That's all. And where can they find you on your podcast?
Right here on YouTube, it's Adius D. Right here on YouTube. And then I usually upload it to Spotify. From there, just look for Adius Dade, and then yeah, that's it.
Awesome, brother. Well, we'll talk in the green room in a second. I hope everybody has a good night, and don't forget to set those clocks. So, all right, everybody, peace.